Hello. Okay, before I start the game, I'm going to finish reading this BSAA file. So I got to page 10. Put to rest. Umbrella, put to rest. But Umbrella's dismantlement led to an unforeseen situation. In the fallout of Umbrella's collapse, BOWs began to show up on the black market. The weapons wound up in the hands of terrorists, guerrilla fighters, and unstable state governments. Soon the threat of these BOWs began to be felt around the world. Faced with a new umbrella-like crisis, the Global Pharmaceutical Consortium knew they would have to take immediate action. It was then that the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance (BSAA) was formed to fight threats from the BOWs. And upon its initial foundation, only 11 elite individuals were made part of the BSAA. Their job was limited to that of observers to armies and police units around the world that conducted counter-bioterrorism operations. Unfortunately, the world's bioterrorism problem was much bigger than anyone had anticipated, and so a new course of action was required to handle the problem. To that end, consideration was given to creating a team that could react instantly to threats, but the BSAA was still only a civilian-led organization. They could not operate freely in sovereign nations, and thus were unable to conduct investigations, make pertinent arrests, or even use force when the situation dictated it. It was now clear that the threat of bioterrorism was now the entire world's problem, and something would have to be done. The BSAA was then reformed under the UN's jurisdiction. As a UN-controlled special forces team, the BSAA's acceptance by the UN's member states was taken as a given. The truth of the matter was that only 70% of the member states would approve of BSAA activities on their soil, and the remainder of the states would only approve BSAA activities in their countries on a conditional basis. That is how the current incarnation of the BSAA was formed. The BSAA's headquarters was located in England, but any further details of the location were not released to the public, since a BSAA team had to be able to be deployed within 12 hours. It was assumed that they were located near an airport hub or an Air Force base. Some sources claim that the BSAA had bases in the area under their jurisdiction. The following is a list of areas under the jurisdiction of their respective BSAA branches: European headquarters, Europe and Western Russia; Middle East branch, the Middle East and part of Africa; North American branch, the entire North American continent. Chris Redfield is stationed here. South American branch, the entire South American continent. West African branch, the western part of the African continent. Shiva Olamar is stationed here. East African branch, the eastern part of the African continent. Far East branch, eastern Russia and countries east of India. Ocean branch, Oceania, Oceanian branch. Australia is the centre of operations for Oceania. Antarctica, where Umbrella's Antarctic base was located, falls under the jurisdiction of the Oceanian branch. Each BSAA branch had a considerable number of people on their tactical teams, most of them coming from police, special forces and militaries around the world. The support staff for the teams was also quite large, and they came mainly from government organizations in different countries. There were many groups of experts on the staff that provided technical, medical, physical and mental support to the teams. The BSAA deployment teams were divided into two groups. The first group was the Special Operations Unit, SOU. SOU were sanctioned to infiltrate an area, engage in combat and subdue offenders. Teams were usually comprised of 12 members, and each team was divided into three four-man cells. A special feature of the SOU is the flexibility of its personnel during operations. In order to match the scale of an operation, cells from other teams are brought in on a regular basis. For one specific joint operation, there were 70 elite members working together. Dan DeChant is currently the leader of Alpha Team for this operation. The team is comprised of his own standard team along with cells from other teams. The designation Alpha Team will only be used for this operation. Reports indicate that because unknown BOWs are involved, the efficacy of the tactical team's methods for handling them may be low, and consideration has to be given to the strong points that raise their efficacy. Does it mean efficiency? Efficacy. What the fuck? Another key part of the BSAA is the Special Operations Agent, SOA. Usually they're referred to as just agents, and unlike the SOU, agents work alone. The agents are primarily involved in investigations and espionage activities, and as such, they are considered the eyes and ears of the BSAA during certain operations. It may become difficult for tactical teams to penetrate to the front, so it is up to the agents to carry out the missions. During those types of missions, a two-man cell is the basic deployment unit required to catch out the mission. Sometimes agents must go beyond the jurisdiction of a BSAA branch to carry out their missions. Many of them are dispatched to areas with unlawful activities. This mission sees Agent Chris Redfield in that role. Agents who work alone are highly capable and they rank higher than SOU members. However, agents are not chosen so much for their abilities or technical prowess, but for their psychological state and aptitude in handling situations and actual skills and abilities. They may be outperformed by SOU members. The BSAA is a public organization with an international staff, but owing to the logistics of running such an organization, it is well known the fact that most of their funding comes from the Global Pharmaceutical Consortium. While this relationship has been the target of much criticism, the consortium's funding removes the financial burden from participatory nations, and as such, any motivation to change the situation and incur unwanted expenses. As for the consortium, their sponsorship acts as a much-needed industry-wide PR service. So far, this partnership has been beneficial to all parties involved. On a final note, the 11 members who were part of the BSAA from the beginning are highly respected within the organization and are known as the Original 11. The name comes from the original 7, who were the 7 astronauts selected for Project Mercury. One of these original 11 is Chris Redfield. A number of other members of the original 11 also work alongside their tactical teams. Okay, let's try Magini. Only 11 for Magini. Listed below is what is currently known regarding the Las Plagas parasite. Though only recently discovered, the parasite known as Las Plagas was sealed away under the family castle of Castellan Ramon Salazar for many generations. The parasite attaches itself to a human host and is assimilated by the central nervous system. Infected humans lose all rational thinking faculties and are wholly subject to control by another type of plaga known as a control plaga. Usually another infected human host may lack rational thought function, but they still retain human level intelligence, such as the ability to understand and communicate with each other. They can also use tools and are surprisingly crafty when working in groups against an enemy. Leon S. Kennedy documented his encounter with these infected humans in the Kennedy Report. In his report, they were referred to as Ganados. The presence of Las Plagas in this mission has been confirmed. It's currently unknown how the parasites discovered in Europe came to be present in Africa. A known bioweapon smuggler, Ricardo Irving, is wanted for questioning regarding this matter. This information was obtained by the BSAA's Alpha team at great personal risk to themselves. Their report indicated that the Las Plagas sample was extracted from Europe and has undergone both biological and genetic modification, creating a more effective and potentially dangerous biological weapon. This modified Las Plagas has been classified by researchers as Type 2 Plagas. The presence of the Type 2 Plagas has been confirmed to be present in Africa by various intel reports. Type 2's initial infection characteristics vary from the original parasite's infection. The Las Plagas discovered in Europe were injected into humans during the egg phase. They would then reach maturity within the host body, at which point they would assume control of the host's central nervous system. With Type 2 infection occurs from a mature parasite, this requires it to enter the host orally, usually by being forced directly into the potential host's mouth. The observed result of this type of infection method is one of extreme muscular convulsions and uncontrollable body spasms. Also of note, whereas the original Las Plagas took anywhere from a few hours to a few days to assimilate a host, Type 2 requires almost zero maturation time. From this point alone, Type 2 is a much more efficient weapon. Infections of this type has already been witnessed by BSAA operatives currently stationed in the area. Type 2 takes over the central nervous system of infected humans and incapacitates normal rational thought faculties. The infected hosts become willing subjects to the ones that control them. However, to maximize their effectiveness as a weapon, the persons who command them do not need to possess a control plugger to do so. Hosts retain their intelligence, and the abilities of hosts are dependent on the abilities inherent in the human before infection. This is the same as with the original version of the last plugger's parasite. It has been speculated that to raise their proliferation as a weapon, the parasite has been altered so its hosts will actively infect others in order to increase their numbers. According to intel reports, Type 2 hosts are apparently known as Majini to weapons dealers. This word comes from local language meaning evil spirit. Because the codename Type 2 exists, it is presumed that there are subsequent number types, e.g. Type 3 and 4. No confirmation of this, however, has been acquired at this time. There we go, Chris. Fucking 27-page biography of Chris. And her, Shiva, she gets a 36-page. Ricardo, he gets a 16. Good. Lower the better. Well, we did 1, 2 more. I'll probably get through a lot of them, but not that'll do for now. I've done 2. Yeah.